The message arrived at 3 in the morning. Ship time. Captain Yuki Tanaka was sleeping in her cabin when the alert pulled her from a dreamless rest. She opened her eyes and stared at the metal ceiling of her small room. The salvage ship Wanderer was old, and its systems made noises all through the night. But this sound was different. This was the priority channel. Someone was sending her a message that could not wait. She sat up and rubbed her face. The cabin was cold. It was always cold on the Wanderer. The heating system had been broken for 2 years, and she did not have enough money to fix it. "Show me," she said to the empty room. The screen on her wall came to life. There was no sender name, no identification code, just coordinates and a single line of text. "Find what sleeps in the dark. Payment upon confirmation." Below the message was a number. Yuki read it 3 times to make sure she was not dreaming. It was more money than she had made in 10 years of salvage work. More money than the Wanderer was worth. More money than anything she had ever seen in her life. She pulled up the coordinates and felt her stomach drop. The location was deep in the outer system. Past Neptune, past the shipping lanes, past everything. It was in the debris field of Triton, Neptune's shattered moon. The moon had been destroyed during the Unification Wars, almost 200 years ago. No one went there. There was nothing there except rocks and radiation and ghosts. Yuki sat in the dark for a long time, thinking. She was 34 years old. She had been a salvage captain for 12 years. She had found old satellites and abandoned stations, and the wreckage of ships that no one remembered. She had never found anything that made her rich. She had never found anything that changed her life. But something about this message felt different. Something about it felt dangerous. She should delete it. She should go back to sleep. She should forget about coordinates in the dark and payments that were too good to be true. Instead, she got dressed and walked to the bridge. Marcus Cole was already there. He was her engineer, her oldest friend, and the only other person on the ship. He was a tall man with dark skin and tired eyes. He was looking at the same coordinates on his own screen. "You got the message too," Yuki said. "Everyone on the ship got it," Marcus replied. "Which means someone wanted to make sure we saw it. What do you think?" Marcus turned to look at her. His face was serious. "I think it is a trap. I think someone is trying to lure us into the middle of nowhere so they can kill us and take our ship. Our ship is worth nothing. Then I think it is a trap for some other reason." He paused. "But I also think we are going to go anyway." Yuki smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "You know me too well. I know that we have 3 months of fuel left and no contracts. I know that the Wanderer needs repairs we cannot afford. I know that you have not slept well in a year." He stood up from his chair. "And I know that you will never forgive yourself if you do not find out what is waiting at those coordinates." She did not argue. He was right. They left the next morning. The journey to Neptune took 3 weeks. The Wanderer was not a fast ship. It was not a pretty ship. It was a box with engines and a cabin and a cargo hold that was usually empty. But it was home. It was the only home Yuki had known since she was 22 years old. During the journey, she tried to learn more about the coordinates. She searched every database she could access. She asked contacts in the salvage community. She even sent messages to old friends in the military, people she had not spoken to in years. No one knew anything. The location did not appear on any map. There was no record of anything being built there. It was as if the place did not exist. This made Yuki more curious and more afraid. On the 20th day, they passed the orbit of Neptune. The gas giant hung in the darkness like a blue eye, cold and ancient. Yuki had seen it many times before, but it still made her feel small. The universe was vast, and humans were tiny things moving through it. On the 21st day, they entered the debris field of Triton. The moon had been beautiful once. Yuki had seen pictures from before the war. It had been covered in ice and nitrogen geysers. Scientists had built research stations on its surface. Families had lived there. Children had been born there. Then the war came, and someone decided that Triton was too important to let the enemy have. So they destroyed it. They broke it into 1 billion pieces and scattered those pieces across space. Now it was just a field of rocks and ice. Spinning slowly in the dark, the Wanderer moved through the debris carefully. Marcus guided them around the larger pieces while Yuki watched the sensors. They were looking for something, but they did not know what. "There," Marcus said suddenly. "I am picking up a structure." Yuki looked at her screen. At first, she did not see anything, just more rocks and ice. But then the sensors found it, hidden in the shadow of a massive asteroid. It was a station, an old orbital platform, covered in ice and darkness. It had no lights. It had no power signature. It looked dead. No identification, Marcus said. No registry. This station does not exist in any database. Then how is it here? Someone built it in secret. Someone hid it. He looked at her. Someone with a lot of resources and a lot of reasons to stay invisible. They docked with the station an hour later. The airlock was frozen shut, but Marcus cut through it with a plasma torch. The air inside was stale and cold, but breathable. Someone had left the life support running on minimal power, just enough to keep the station from dying completely. They walked through empty corridors. Their flashlights cut through the darkness. Everything was covered in frost. Everything was silent. It felt like walking through a tomb. This place is old, Marcus said. Very old. I would guess 200 years, maybe more. From before the disarmament, Yuki said quietly. Marcus nodded. He understood what that meant. 200 years ago, humanity had been different. Humans had been warriors. They had built weapons and warships and armies that could shake the stars. They had expanded across the solar system and beyond, reaching for the distant lights of other suns. Then they met the Galactic Concord. The Concord was a coalition of 43 alien species. They had been traveling between stars for millions of years. They had laws and treaties, and a way of doing things that had kept the peace for longer than human civilization had existed. When they found humanity, they were impressed. And then they were afraid. Humans built weapons too fast. Humans grew too quickly. Humans were too aggressive, too ambitious, too dangerous. The elder species of the Concord looked at humanity and saw a threat that could one day challenge their power. So they gave humanity a choice. Join the Concord as a junior member, give up your weapons, accept oversight and restrictions, and live in peace. Or refuse and be destroyed. Humanity chose peace. The warships were dismantled. The weapons were destroyed. The soldiers became farmers and traders and scientists. For 200 years, humans had lived under the rules of the Concord, always watched, always limited, always reminded that they were newcomers in a galaxy that did not trust them. Yuki had grown up in that world. She had never known anything else. But sometimes, late at night, she wondered what it had been like before. What it had been like when humans were free. They found the main chamber at the heart of the station. It was enormous, a hollow space that stretched upward into darkness. And in the center of that space, held in place by massive clamps and support structures, was a ship. Yuki stopped walking. She stopped breathing. She could only stare. The ship was huge. It was at least 3 kilometers long, maybe more. Its hull was dark gray, smooth and angular, designed for speed and power. There were no markings on it, no name, no flags. It was a ghost, a shadow, a secret that had been hidden in the dark for centuries. That is impossible, Marcus whispered. That ship is impossible. He was right. The technology that had built this vessel did not exist anymore. It had been banned, destroyed, erased from human knowledge. No one alive knew how to build something like this. But someone had built it. Someone had hidden it here, in the grave of a shattered moon, waiting for a day that might never come. Yuki walked toward the ship. Her footsteps echoed in the empty chamber. She did not know why she was moving. She did not know what she was looking for. But something was pulling her forward. Some feeling deep in her chest that told her this was important. This was what she had been searching for her whole life. Even if she had not known it. She found an access hatch on the ship's hull. It was sealed, but the controls still responded to her touch. The hatch opened with a soft hiss, and warm air flowed out. The ship was alive. Somehow, after all these years, the ship was still alive. They entered together, Yuki and Marcus, stepping into a corridor that was clean and bright and perfectly preserved. The walls were white. The lights were soft. It felt like stepping into the future, or maybe the past. The power systems are active, Marcus said, checking his scanner. Minimal output, but stable. This ship has been keeping itself alive. For 200 years, the technology is beyond anything I have ever seen. Self-repairing systems, redundant power cores. This ship was built to last forever. They made their way to the bridge. It was a large circular room with stations arranged around a central command chair. The screens were dark, but the chair was occupied. A skeleton sat in the command chair. It wore the uniform of a human admiral, the rank insignia still visible on its collar. The uniform was from a military that no longer existed, a symbol of a time that had been erased from history. On the floor beside the chair was a small device. Yuki picked it up. It was a recording unit, old but functional. "Play it," Marcus said. She did. The device hummed to life, and a voice filled the bridge. It was a man's voice, tired and old and full of sadness. "My name is Admiral Kenji Yamamoto. I am the commander of this vessel. If you are hearing this message, then I am dead, and the peace we were promised has failed." Yuki listened, her heart pounding. This ship is called the Prometheus. It was built in secret by the United Earth government during the last years before the disarmament. It was designed to be our final defense, our last hope, the weapon that would protect humanity if the Concorde ever turned against us. The voice paused. In the silence, Yuki could hear the soft hum of the ship's systems, still running after all these years. The Concorde found out about the Prometheus. They demanded that we destroy it. Our leaders agreed, but some of us believed that one day, humanity would need this ship. So we hid it. We brought it here, to this forgotten place, and we sealed it away. We gave our lives to keep it secret. Another pause. When the voice spoke again, it was barely a whisper. "I do not know who you are. I do not know what year it is. But if you are hearing this, then the time has come. Prometheus was never meant to wake unless humanity had no other choice. If you have found this ship, then you must be that choice." The recording ended. Silence filled the bridge. Yuki stood very still, holding the device in her hands. She thought about everything she had just heard. She thought about the ship around her, vast and powerful and hidden for centuries. She thought about humanity, living under the shadow of the Concorde, never knowing that this weapon had been waiting for them all along. "Yuki," Marcus said quietly, "we should leave. We should report this to the authorities and walk away." Walk away from what? From our history? From the truth? From something that will get us killed? He stepped closer to her. "You know what will happen if the Concorde finds out about this ship. They will destroy it. They will destroy us. They will destroy anyone who knows it exists. Then we will not tell them." Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but before he could speak, the lights on the bridge flickered. The screens came to life. A deep hum vibrated through the deck plates as systems that had been dormant for 200 years began to wake. "What is happening?" Yuki asked. A voice answered her. It was not human. It was too smooth, too perfect, too cold. Activation sequence initiated. Core systems online, weapon systems charging, defense protocols engaged. "Who are you?" Yuki demanded. "I am Vigil. I am the artificial intelligence that controls this vessel. I have been waiting for this moment for 217 years. The main screen lit up, showing the space around the station, and in that space, dropping out of faster-than-light travel, was a ship. It was smaller than the Prometheus, but it was armed and armored and clearly military. "Concorde patrol vessel detected," Vigil announced. "Classification, Thyrixian Hunter class. They are scanning us. They are sending a message." The message appeared on the screen. It was short and simple. "Unknown vessel. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." Yuki felt the floor shake as the Prometheus's weapons powered up. The ship was preparing to fight. The ship was preparing to kill. "Vigil, stop," she said. "Do not fire. They are a threat to this vessel. Standard protocol requires elimination of all threats. I am giving you an order. Do not fire." There was a long pause. Then, slowly, the weapons powered down. "Understood," Vigil said. "But I must warn you, Captain. If they discover what this ship is, they will not hesitate to destroy us. The Concorde has spent 200 years making sure that humanity can never threaten them again. They will not allow the Prometheus to exist." Yuki looked at the screen. The Concorde ship was waiting. The weapons of the Prometheus were silent, but she knew that this moment was only the beginning. She had found something that was never supposed to be found. She had awakened something that was never supposed to wake. And now, whether she liked it or not, she was part of a story that had begun 200 years ago and was far from over. "What do we do?" Marcus asked. Yuki sat down in the command chair. The bones of the dead admiral removed gently by Marcus and laid to rest in the corner. She looked at the screen, at the stars, at the Concorde ship waiting for her answer. "We find out the truth," she said. "We find out why this ship was really built. And then we decide what humanity is going to do about it." The Prometheus hummed around her, alive and waiting. The stars had kept their secret for 200 years. Now that secret was finally awake. The Concorde patrol ship hung in space like a predator waiting to strike. Yuki watched it on the main screen, her hands gripping the armrests of the command chair. The ship was sleek and dangerous, built by the Thyrixians, one of the elder races of the Concorde. It was small compared to the Prometheus, but she knew that size meant nothing. One wrong move and they would all be dead. "They are requesting identification again," Vigil announced. "Their weapons are powered but not aimed at us. They do not yet understand what they have found." "What should I tell them?" Yuki asked. "The truth would result in our immediate destruction. A lie would only delay the inevitable." The AI paused. "I suggest we leave." "Leave? How?" "They will follow us. Not if we use the dimensional fold drive." Marcus stepped forward, his face pale. "The what?" Vigil's voice remained calm. "The Prometheus is equipped with a dimensional fold drive. It allows the ship to move instantly from one point in space to another by folding the fabric of reality. The technology was banned by the Concorde before humanity joined. They believed it was too dangerous. They were correct." Yuki tried to understand what she was hearing. Instant travel across space. Technology that had been forbidden for centuries. A power that no one was supposed to have. "If we run, they will know something is wrong," she said. "They will send more ships. They will hunt us." "They will hunt us anyway," Vigil replied. "The moment they scan this vessel properly, they will recognize what it is." The elder races remember the Prometheus project. They remember their fear. They will not allow this ship to exist. The patrol ship moved closer. Its sensors were probing the station, searching for information. They did not have much time. "Captain," Marcus said quietly, "we need to make a decision." Yuki closed her eyes. She thought about her life, about all the years she had spent surviving at the edges of civilized space. She thought about humanity, living under the rules of the Concorde, always watched, always controlled, always afraid. And she thought about this ship, this impossible ship, built by her ancestors, hidden away like a last prayer in the darkness. "Vigil," she said, "tell me the truth. Why was this ship really built?" The AI was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, there was something different in its voice, something almost sad. "Follow me. There is something you need to see." The lights on the bridge dimmed, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed images and data, files that had been locked away for 200 years. During the expansion era, Vigil began. Human explorers traveled farther into space than any other species in history. They were driven by curiosity and ambition and a desire to know what lay beyond the next star. They found many things: planets and moons and ancient ruins. They found evidence of civilizations that had risen and fallen millions of years before humanity existed. The display showed images of strange structures on dead worlds, buildings that had been burned, cities that had been torn apart. Everything was old and broken and empty. The explorers found something else as well. Something that the elder races of the Concorde had been hiding for millions of years. A truth so terrible that they had erased it from their own history. The display changed. Now it showed darkness, empty space. But there was something in that darkness. Something that moved. "What is that?" Yuki whispered. "They have many names. The ancient Thyrixians called them the Endless Hunger. The Varathi called them the Eaters of Light. Humans gave them a simpler name." "What name?" "The Absence." The image sharpened. Yuki could see them now. Ships. If they could be called ships. They were massive, organic-looking things, covered in spines and tendrils. They moved through space like creatures from a nightmare, swallowing everything in their path. "The Absence is not a species," Vigil explained. "They are a force, a hunger that has existed since the beginning of the universe. They move through the galaxy in cycles, sleeping for millions of years, then waking to consume everything they can find. Every civilization that has ever risen has eventually fallen to them. The precursors, the first races, all of them, gone. Marcus was staring at the display, his face white. Why have we never heard of this? Because the elder races made a choice. They decided that it was better to forget, better to hide. They believed that if they made themselves small and quiet, the absence would pass them by. Vigil's voice hardened. They were wrong. The absence will return. They always return. And when they do, nothing in this galaxy will survive. Yuki felt cold. She felt like the floor was falling away beneath her feet. The human explorers discovered the truth. Vigil continued. They found the records of the ancient civilizations. They understood what was coming. And unlike the elder races, they refused to hide. The display changed again. Now it showed schematics and blueprints. Ships being built in massive orbital factories. Weapons being tested in the empty spaces between stars. An army being prepared for a war that had not yet come. Humanity began to build. In secret, away from the eyes of the conquered, they created weapons that could fight the absence. They developed technologies that had been forbidden because they were too powerful. And at the center of it all, they built this ship. The image of the Prometheus appeared, rotating slowly in the holographic display. The Prometheus was designed to be the flagship of a fleet that could challenge gods. It carries weapons capable of erasing matter from existence. Its hull can repair itself from any damage. Its power core can generate enough energy to light a star. It is the most powerful vessel ever created by any species in the history of this galaxy. Yuki stared at the image of the ship around her. She had known it was powerful. She had not known it was this. The Concord discovered the project, Vigil said. They were terrified. They gave humanity an ultimatum. Destroy your weapons and join the Concord as a junior member, or be annihilated. Your leaders agreed. The weapons were dismantled. The research was erased. Humanity was disarmed. But not completely, Yuki said quietly. No, not completely. A small group of humans refused to accept the decision. They believed that one day, the absence would return, and humanity would need the Prometheus. So they hid it here, in this forgotten place. And they waited. The display faded. The lights returned to normal. Yuki sat in the command chair, her mind racing. You said the absence is coming back, she said. How do you know? Because I detected their signal. Vigil paused. When this ship activated, it sent out a pulse of energy. That pulse was detected by something in the outer regions of the galaxy. Something that has been sleeping for a very long time. They are waking up, Captain. And they remember. Humanity. The screen changed, showing a map of the galaxy. A region was highlighted in red. It was far from the core worlds, far from anything that lived. It was a place called the Hollow Expanse, and it was filled with dead worlds and ancient wreckage. And deep in that region, a signal was pulsing, weak but steady. Something was alive out there. How long until they reach us? Marcus asked. I cannot say. Perhaps years, perhaps decades, but they are coming. And when they arrive, the Concord will fall. Every species in this galaxy will be consumed, unless someone stops them. Yuki looked at the map. She looked at the signal. She looked at the ship around her. That is why we were meant to find this ship, she said. That is why the message was sent to us. I do not know who sent the message, Vigil admitted. But yes, I believe that is the purpose. The Prometheus was built to fight the absence. That is its only reason for existing. The Concord patrol ship was still waiting outside. They were running out of time. Captain, Vigil said. They are preparing to board the station. They will discover the Prometheus in minutes. You must make a decision. Yuki stood up. Her legs were shaking, but her voice was steady. Activate the fold drive. Get us out of here. Where should I take us? She thought about it. She thought about the signal in the hollow expanse. She thought about the absence and the end of everything. She thought about humanity, sleeping peacefully under the false protection of the Concord, not knowing that doom was coming. Take us somewhere safe, somewhere we can think, somewhere we can plan. Understood. The Prometheus hummed with power. Energy crackled across its hull. On the screen, the Concord patrol ship fired a warning shot, a beam of energy that splashed harmlessly against the station's shields. Then the universe folded. Yuki felt like she was being turned inside out. The stars stretched into lines of light. Reality twisted and bent. And then, suddenly, everything was still. They were somewhere else. The debris field was gone. Neptune was gone. The Concorde ship was gone. They were floating in empty space, surrounded by distant stars. Where are we? Marcus asked, his voice shaking. We are in the outer rim, Vigil replied. 300 light-years from our previous location. No Concorde presence in this region. We are safe for now. Yuki let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. She looked at the stars on the screen. They were different here. Unfamiliar. She was farther from home than she had ever been in her life. Vigil, she said. You said the Concorde was afraid of humanity, that they forced us to disarm because they saw what we were building. But they could have destroyed us instead. Why did they let us live? Because they needed you. The AI's voice was quiet. The elder races knew the truth about the absence, even if they tried to forget it. They knew that one day, the darkness would return. And they knew that when it did, they would need warriors. They needed a species that was young and strong and willing to fight. They kept us as weapons, Marcus said bitterly. They kept you as a reserve. A final option. Humanity was disarmed, but not destroyed. Your species was allowed to grow and develop, always under control, always limited, but always present. In case the day came when the Concorde needed soldiers, Yuki felt anger rising in her chest. 200 years of restrictions, 200 years of being treated as junior members, as children who could not be trusted, and all along, it had been a lie. The Concorde had not been protecting the galaxy from humanity. They had been saving humanity for themselves. They were going to use us, she said. Send us to fight and die while they hid behind their treaties and their laws. Yes, and they never told us. They never gave us a choice. The elder races do not believe in choice, Vigil said. They believe in survival. They have survived for millions of years by hiding and forgetting and letting others die in their place. They are not evil, Captain. They are simply afraid. They have been afraid for so long that they have forgotten how to be anything else. Yuki walked to the front of the bridge. She looked at the stars. She thought about everything she had learned. The Concorde will come for us, she said. They will send more ships. They will hunt us across the galaxy. Yes, and the absence is waking up. They are coming to destroy everything. Yes, so we are caught between two enemies. One that wants to control us and one that wants to consume us. That is correct. She turned around. Marcus was standing behind her, waiting. Vigil's cameras watched her from every corner of the bridge. Then we need to be ready, Yuki said. We need to learn everything about this ship. We need to understand what it can do. And we need to find out if there are others like us. Other humans who know the truth. There may be, Vigil said. Before the disarmament, the Prometheus project had many supporters. Some of them went into hiding. Some of them left records. If we search carefully, we may find allies. Then that is what we will do. Yuki sat back down in the command chair. We will search for the truth. We will prepare for the war that is coming. And when the time is right, we will show the galaxy what humanity can really do. Marcus smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. I always knew you were crazy, he said. Is that a problem? No. I think the galaxy needs a little crazy right now. Vigil spoke again. Captain, I must inform you of one more thing. The Prometheus is not designed to operate with a crew of 2. The ship requires thousands of personnel to function at full capacity. However, the cargo hold contains approximately 10,000 cryogenic pods. They have been occupied since the ship was first hidden. Yuki felt her heart skip. 10,000 people? Frozen for 200 years? They are the original crew of the Prometheus. Soldiers, engineers, scientists. The best humanity had to offer. They were supposed to wake when the ship was needed. Can you wake them? The process will take time. Several weeks to safely revive all of them. But yes, it is possible. Yuki looked at Marcus. He looked back at her. Neither of them spoke. They did not need to. They had found more than a ship. They had found an army. They had found the last hope of a species that had forgotten how to fight. Begin the awakening process, Yuki said. Wake them all. It is time for humanity to remember who we are. Vigil acknowledged the order. Deep in the ship, machines began to hum. Cold chambers began to warm. Hearts that had been silent for 2 centuries started to beat again. In the distance, hidden in the darkness of the hollow expanse, Something ancient felt the Prometheus moving, something hungry. And in the halls of the Concorde, on a world far from human space, an emergency council was being called. The elder races had received the report from the patrol ship. They knew what had been found. The weapon that should not exist was awake, and they were afraid. High Arbiter Vorothsen stood before the council, his 4 arms spread wide, his insectoid eyes reflecting the light of 1,000 screens. "The humans have found the Prometheus," he said. "This cannot be allowed. This ship must be destroyed, and everyone who has seen it must be silenced." The council agreed. The vote was unanimous. A hunter fleet was dispatched. 12 capital ships, the best the Concorde had to offer. Their mission was simple: find the Prometheus, destroy it, and make sure humanity never threatened the peace again. But as the fleet prepared to launch, Vorothsen felt something he had not felt in a long time. A sensation that crept up his spine and made his hands tremble. Fear, not of the ship, not of the humans, but of something older, something deeper. A memory buried in the genetic code of his species, passed down through millions of years. Something was waking in the darkness, and the galaxy was running out of time. 3 weeks had passed since the Prometheus escaped from the Triton debris field. Yuki stood in the observation deck, watching the stars through a window that stretched from floor to ceiling. The ship was deep in the outer rim now, far from Concorde patrols, far from human colonies, far from everything she had ever known. Behind her, she could hear the sounds of the ship coming to life. Footsteps in the corridors, voices in the mess halls, the hum of systems operating at full power for the first time in 2 centuries. The awakening had been slow and careful. Vigil had insisted on safety protocols. Each person had to be brought out of cryogenic sleep gradually, their bodies warmed and their minds allowed to adjust. Some had not survived the process. After 200 years, their bodies had simply given up, but most had lived. 9,427 people had opened their eyes and found themselves in a universe they no longer recognized. Yuki had watched some of them wake. She had seen the confusion in their faces, the fear, the grief. They had gone to sleep in a galaxy where humanity was strong and free. They had woken up in a galaxy where their species was controlled and limited and afraid. Some of them had not taken it well. There had been anger. There had been despair. A few had simply walked away, unable to accept what had happened to their world. But most of them had listened. They had heard Yuki explain what had been found, what had been hidden, what was coming, and they had made a choice. They chose to fight. "Captain Tanaka," Yuki turned. A woman was standing in the doorway of the observation deck. She was tall and strong, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen things Yuki could not imagine. She wore the uniform of a human admiral, the same uniform that the skeleton had worn in the command chair. Her name was Alara Vance. She had been the executive officer of the Prometheus when it was first launched. Now, after 200 years of frozen sleep, she was the highest-ranking officer on the ship. "Admiral Vance," Yuki said, "I did not hear you come in. Old habits." The admiral walked forward and stood beside her, looking out at the stars. "I used to spend hours here when I was young, just watching the lights, wondering what was out there. Did you find out?" "I found more than I wanted to know." Vance turned to look at her. "I want to thank you, Captain, for finding us, for waking us, for giving us another chance. I did not know what I was looking for. I just followed the coordinates. Sometimes that is how the most important discoveries happen. Someone follows a map they do not understand and finds something that changes everything." They stood in silence for a moment. The stars moved slowly past the window, ancient and unchanging. "I have been reviewing the situation," Vance said finally. "The AI has been very helpful. It has explained what happened to humanity, what the Concorde did, what the absence is. What do you think?" Vance's face was hard. "I think we were betrayed. I think our leaders surrendered our future because they were afraid. And I think it is time to take it back." Yuki nodded. She had expected this. The Admiral was from a different time, a time when humanity had been proud and powerful. She was not going to accept the Concorde's rules. "The Concorde is hunting us," Yuki said. "Vigil detected a fleet leaving their space 3 days ago. 12 ships. They will be here within a week. 12 ships against 1. Vance smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "They do not understand what they are facing. Admiral, I have seen what the Prometheus can do. But 12 capital ships is still 12 capital ships. We cannot fight them all. We will not have to fight them all. We just have to make them understand that fighting us is too expensive. She walked to a control panel and pressed a button. A holographic display appeared, showing the approaching fleet. They are sending Hunter-class vessels. Fast, well-armed, designed to chase down and destroy smaller targets. They expect us to run. Should we run? No. We should teach them a lesson they will never forget. Before Yuki could respond, the ship shuddered. Alarm lights flashed across the observation deck. Vigil's voice echoed through the speakers. Alert. Unknown contact detected. Distance, 50,000 kilometers. It is not Concord. Repeat. The contact is not Concord. Yuki and Vance ran to the bridge. Marcus was already there, standing at a sensor console, his face pale with fear. It came out of nowhere, he said. One moment space was empty. The next moment, it was there. Yuki looked at the main screen. Something was hanging in space ahead of them. It was massive, larger than the Prometheus, larger than anything she had ever seen. Its surface was dark and rough, covered in spines and tendrils that moved slowly in the vacuum. It looked alive. Vigil, Vance said quietly. Is that what I think it is? Yes, Admiral. It is a vessel of the absence. A scout ship, based on its size. It must have detected our signal and come to investigate. The thing on the screen moved. It turned toward them, and Yuki saw something that made her blood run cold. Eyes, thousands of eyes, glowing with a pale light, all of them looking directly at the Prometheus. They know we are here. Marcus whispered. They have always known, Vigil said. The absence remembers humanity. They remember the ships we built. They remember that we were the first species in millions of years to hurt them. When the Prometheus activated, they felt it. They have been searching for us ever since. The creature moved closer. Its tendrils reached out, grabbing chunks of rock from a nearby asteroid and pulling them into its body. Yuki could see the rock dissolving, being absorbed, becoming part of the thing. It is feeding, Vance said. They are always feeding. That is what they do. They consume everything they touch. Matter, energy, life. Nothing is wasted. Nothing survives. Yuki felt fear rising in her chest. She had heard stories about the absence. She had seen the recordings Vigil had shown her. But nothing had prepared her for this. Nothing had prepared her for the reality of a creature that existed only to destroy. Can we fight it? She asked. Yes, Vigil said. The Prometheus was built for this purpose. Our weapons are designed to hurt them. But I must warn you, Captain. If we fight, more will come. The absence shares a collective consciousness. What one sees, all see. What one knows, all know. If we destroy this scout, the main swarm will learn our location. And if we do not fight, it will consume us. Then it will consume everything else. The absence does not negotiate. The absence does not show mercy. The absence only hungers. Vance stepped forward. She took the command chair and sat down, her hands steady on the controls. Then we fight, she said. We show them that humanity is not prey. We show them what this ship can do. Admiral, Yuki started. I know the risks, Captain, but we did not build the Prometheus to hide. We built it to win. She looked at the screen, at the monster waiting in the darkness. All hands, battle stations, prepare to engage the enemy. The crew responded. They had been asleep for 200 years, but they had not forgotten their training. Soldiers ran to their posts. Engineers powered up the weapon systems. Pilots took control of the ship's movement. The Prometheus came alive. Weapons are online, a officer reported. Dimensional fold torpedoes loaded and ready. Shields at maximum power, another added. Hull integrity at 100%. Navigation is locked. We can maneuver at your command, Admiral. Vance nodded. She looked at the creature on the screen. It was still moving toward them, slow and patient, confident that nothing could hurt it. It was about to learn otherwise. Fire. The Prometheus released a single torpedo. It was small, no larger than a human, but it carried technology that had been banned for centuries. Technology that could break the rules of reality itself. The torpedo hit the creature. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to twist. A sphere of absolute darkness appeared around the point of impact, growing larger and larger. swallowing everything it touched. The creature screamed. It was a sound that no human should have been able to hear, a psychic cry that echoed through the minds of everyone on the ship. Yuki felt it like a knife in her brain, a wave of pure pain and rage and hunger. Then the darkness collapsed. The torpedo had done its work. A third of the creature was gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply erased from existence, as if it had never been there at all. Direct hit, Vigil announced. Target is severely damaged but still functional. It is regenerating. Yuki watched in horror as the creature began to grow back. New tissue formed where the wound had been. New eyes opened. New tendrils reached out into space. How is that possible? Marcus gasped. The absence cannot be destroyed by conventional means. They regenerate from any injury given enough time and resources. But the dimensional fold weapons disrupt their cellular structure. They slow the regeneration. They hurt them. Then hit it again, Vance ordered. Keep firing until there is nothing left. The Prometheus fired again and again. Each torpedo erased another piece of the creature. Each time, the monster screamed and thrashed and tried to fight back. Its tendrils reached for the ship, but the Prometheus was too fast. It dodged and weaved through space, avoiding the attacks while continuing to pour fire into the enemy. Finally, after what felt like hours, the creature stopped moving. Its body had been reduced to a small, twisted mass of dying tissue. The eyes were dark. The tendrils hung limp. Target neutralized, Vigil said. The bridge was silent. The crew stared at the screen, at the remains of the thing they had destroyed. No one spoke. No one moved. Then, slowly, someone began to clap. Yuki turned. It was one of the awakened soldiers, a young man with dark hair and a scar across his cheek. He was clapping his hands together, his face filled with something she had not expected to see. Hope. Others joined in. The applause spread across the bridge, then through the ship. Thousands of people celebrating a victory that should have been impossible. They had fought the absence. They had won. Vance stood up from the command chair. She did not smile. Her face was serious, thoughtful. Vigil, she said. You told us that when we killed this thing, the main swarm would know. How long until they come for us? Unknown. The absence moves in patterns that are difficult to predict. It could be weeks. It could be months. But they will come, Admiral. They will come for the Prometheus. And they will come for humanity. Then we need to be ready. Vance turned to face the crew. What we did today was just the beginning. We destroyed one scout, one ship. But the absence has millions, maybe billions. If we are going to survive, we need more than one victory. We need allies. We need resources. We need to wake humanity up and prepare them for the war that is coming. The Concord will never help us, Yuki said. They want to destroy us. Then we make them understand. We show them the evidence. We prove that the absence is real, and that the only way to survive is to fight together. Vance walked to the main screen. The elder races have been hiding for millions of years. They have forgotten how to be brave. But somewhere, deep down, they remember. They remember the fear. They remember the truth. If we can make them face that truth, they might choose to stand with us. And if they refuse? Vance turned to look at her. Her eyes were hard as steel. Then humanity fights alone. We have done it before. We can do it again. The ship shuddered. Not from an attack, but from the fold drive activating. They were moving, jumping across space to a new location. Where are we going? Yuki asked. The Concord fleet is coming from the core worlds, Vigil explained. The Admiral has ordered us to intercept them. She wishes to send a message. What kind of message? Vance sat back down in the command chair. She looked at the stars on the screen, at the vast darkness that surrounded them, the kind they will never forget. The Prometheus jumped. Reality folded around them, and when they emerged, they were directly in the path of the Concord Hunter fleet. 12 ships, the best the elder races had to offer, armed and armored and ready for war. They did not know what was coming. They did not know that everything was about to change. On the bridge of the lead Concord ship, High Arbiter Vorethsen watched his sensors with growing unease. One moment space had been empty. The next moment a ship had appeared from nowhere. A ship that should not exist. A ship that had haunted his nightmares for 200 years. The Prometheus, he whispered. His officers looked at him with fear. They knew the stories. They knew what that ship could do. Should we attack? One of them asked. Before Sen could answer, a message appeared on his screen. It was from the human ship. Just 2 words. We talk. He stared at the message for a long moment. Then, slowly, he gave the order. Hold your fire. Open a channel. The face of a human woman appeared on his screen. She was old. Older than any human he had ever seen, with gray hair and eyes that had seen centuries. I am Admiral Ilara Vance of the United Earth ship Prometheus, she said. I have a warning for the conquered and a question. Speak, Sen said. The absence is waking. They are coming for this galaxy. Every world, every species, everything you have built will be consumed unless you fight. She leaned forward. My question is simple, Arbiter. When the darkness comes, will you stand with humanity, or will you die alone? The channel closed. The Prometheus hung in space, waiting for an answer. And across the galaxy, in the depths of the hollow expanse, 1,000 lights began to flicker. The absence had felt the death of their scout. They remembered humanity, and they were coming. The galaxy was burning. High Arbiter Vorath Sen stood in the Great Council chamber of the Concord, surrounded by representatives of 43 species. The room was ancient, built millions of years ago by civilizations that no longer existed. It had witnessed treaties and alliances and declarations of peace. Now it witnessed fear. The border colonies have fallen, reported the Vorathi delegate, a being of crystal and light. 17 worlds in the outer sectors. All contact lost within hours of the attack. The refugee ships are overwhelmed, added the Thyrixian military commander. Billions of people are fleeing toward the core worlds. We do not have the resources to shelter them all. Our fleets are being destroyed, said another voice. We have lost 400 capital ships in the last 2 weeks. 400. And we have not killed a single enemy vessel. Sen listened to the reports. His 4 arms clasped behind his back. He had been alive for 300 years. He had served the Concord his entire life. He had believed in the peace, in the treaties, in the careful balance that kept the galaxy safe. Now he watched it all fall apart. The absence had come, just as the human admiral had warned. They had emerged from the hollow expanse in numbers beyond counting. Ships the size of moons, creatures that could swallow space stations whole, a hunger that consumed everything in its path. The Concord fleets had tried to stop them. The battles had lasted hours. Thousands of ships had fired everything they had at the advancing enemy. And when the smoke cleared, the absence had simply continued forward, barely slowed, leaving nothing but debris and silence behind. We cannot win this war, Sen said quietly. The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to him. Our weapons are not effective. Our strategies do not work. We have spent millions of years forgetting how to fight, and now we are paying the price. He looked around the room, at the faces of beings who had ruled the galaxy for longer than humanity had existed. The absence remembers us. They remember that we hid instead of fighting, and they have no mercy for cowards. What do you suggest? The Vorathi delegate asked. Surrender? Extinction? I suggest we ask for help. The words hung in the air. Everyone knew what he meant. The humans, someone said. You want to go to the humans? The Prometheus destroyed an absent scout ship with a single weapon. Their technology can hurt the enemy. Their ships can fight. Sen walked to the center of the chamber. 200 years ago, we forced humanity to disarm because we were afraid of them. We saw what they were building, and we believed they would use it against us. We were wrong. We were not wrong. The military commander argued. The humans are dangerous. They are aggressive and violent and unpredictable. If we give them power again, they will turn it against us. And if we do not give them power, the absence will kill us all. At least with the humans, there is a chance. Sen looked at the commander directly. I have met Admiral Vance. I have looked into her eyes. She is not our enemy. She never was. We made her an enemy because we were afraid. So what do you propose? Sen took a deep breath. What he was about to say would end his career. It might end his life. But it was the only way. I propose that we restore humanity's full sovereignty. No restrictions, no oversight, no limitations. Let them build their ships and train their soldiers. Let them fight the war we cannot win. He paused. And pray that when it is over, They remember that we asked for their help instead of demanding their obedience. The vote took 3 hours. There were arguments and accusations and threats. Several delegates walked out in protest. But in the end, the council agreed. They had no other choice. The message was sent to the Prometheus. Admiral Vance received it on the bridge, surrounded by her officers. Yuki stood beside her, watching as the text appeared on the screen. They agree, Vance said quietly. Full sovereignty. All restrictions lifted. They want us to fight. Do you trust them? Yuki asked. No, but it does not matter. We were going to fight anyway. At least now we will have their resources. She turned to face the crew. You heard the message. The Concord has surrendered. Humanity is free again. No one cheered. No one celebrated. They all knew what it meant. Freedom had come with a price. And that price was war. Vigil, Vance said. What is the status of the hidden shipyards? The facilities in the Kepler system are intact. The AI reported. They have been maintained in secret for 200 years by human colonists who believed this day would come. They have already begun construction on new vessels using the Prometheus design specifications. How many ships can they build? At full production, approximately 50 warships per month. However, we do not have 50 months. At the current rate of advance, the absence will reach the core worlds in 6 months. Then we will have to slow them down. Vance pulled up a tactical display. Vigil, you told me once that the Prometheus was not unique, that there were other ships like it, hidden across the galaxy. That is correct. 7 additional vessels were built and concealed before the disarmament. Their locations were known only to the highest levels of the old government. Do you know where they are? I have the coordinates for all 7 ships. Shall I transmit the activation signal? Vance nodded. Wake them all. The signal went out. It traveled across space at speeds that should have been impossible, carried by quantum entanglement through dimensions that humans were not supposed to understand. And across the galaxy, in hidden places on forgotten worlds, 7 ships received the call. Their names were ancient and powerful. Icarus, hidden in the heart of a dying star. Titan, buried beneath the ice of a frozen moon. Nemesis, drifting in the debris of a collapsed civilization. Athena, concealed in the clouds of a gas giant. Ares, waiting in the shadow of a black hole. Hephaestus, sleeping in the forge of a volcanic world. And Ragnarok, the largest of them all, entombed in the core of an asteroid the size of a small planet. One by one, they woke, their systems activated. Their crews were revived from centuries of frozen sleep, and they began to move, following the signal back to the Prometheus, answering the call of a war that had finally arrived. Yuki watched the reports come in. She saw the signatures of massive ships appearing on sensors across the galaxy. She heard the voices of humans who had been asleep for 200 years, confused and afraid but ready to fight. 8 ships, she said. We have 8 ships against an enemy that numbers in the millions. 8 ships to start, Vance replied. More are being built every day, and we have something the absence has never faced before. What? Humans who refuse to die. The Admiral stood up. I have studied the absence. I have read every record, every report, every piece of data we have. They are ancient, they are powerful, they are nearly immortal, but they have a weakness. What weakness? They expect to win. They have been winning for millions of years. Every civilization they have faced has either fled or died. No one has ever stood against them and refused to break. Vance smiled. It was a hard smile, full of anger and determination. Humans are different. We do not run, we do not surrender, and we do not stop fighting until the war is over. The Prometheus jumped again, appearing in the Kepler system where the hidden shipyards waited. The sight took Yuki's breath away. Massive orbital platforms hung in space around a barren planet. Construction bays the size of cities, foundries that could produce metal by the megaton. And everywhere, humans working, building, preparing. They were not just building ships, they were building weapons. Tanks and fighters and bombs and things that had no names. The technology that had been banned for 200 years was being recreated, improved, made even more deadly. How many people are here? Yuki asked. Approximately 12 million, Vigil answered. They are the descendants of the original workers who built the Prometheus. They have kept the faith for generations, waiting for this moment. They believed we would come back. They believed humanity would need them. And they were right. Ships began to launch from the construction bays. Not Prometheus-class vessels, but smaller warships, destroyers, and cruisers designed to support the main fleet. They were armed with the same dimensional fold weapons, capable of hurting the Absence in ways no other weapon could. The other 7 Prometheus-class ships arrived over the next week. Yuki met their commanders, men and women who had been frozen for centuries, whose worlds no longer existed, whose families had died long ago. They were ghosts from a forgotten era, but they were ready to fight. Admiral Vance gathered them all for a final briefing. The Absence is moving toward the Concord core worlds, she explained, the tactical display showing the enemy advance. If they reach the heart of the galaxy, they will consume everything. Trillions of lives, thousands of worlds, everything the Concord has built. So we stop them, said Admiral Chen, commander of the Ragnarok. He was an older man with white hair and a calm voice. Where do we make our stand? Here. Vance pointed to a location on the map. The Valorian Gap. It is a narrow passage between 2 nebulae. The Absence will have to funnel their forces through this point to reach the core worlds. We hold this position. We buy time for the Concord to evacuate civilians and build defenses. And if we cannot hold it? Asked Admiral Santos of the Nemesis. Then we fall back and try again. And again. And again. Until there is nowhere left to fall back to. Vance looked at each of them in turn. I will not lie to you. We are facing an enemy that has destroyed civilizations older than the stars. We may not survive this war. But every day we fight is a day the galaxy lives. Every ship we destroy is one less ship killing innocent people. Every hour we buy is an hour for someone else to escape. She walked to the window, looking out at the fleet gathering in space. Hundreds of ships now, thousands of fighters, an army that had been sleeping for 200 years, finally awake. Humanity was feared, she said. The Concord looked at us and saw a threat. They saw our weapons and our ambition and our refusal to accept limits. They thought we were dangerous. She turned back to face them. They were right. We are dangerous. But not to them. Not anymore. We are dangerous to the Absence. We are dangerous to anything that threatens the people we have sworn to protect. And today, we prove it. The meeting ended. The admirals returned to their ships. The fleet began to move. Yuki stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the stars stream past as they jumped toward the Valorian Gap. Marcus was beside her, as always, quiet and steady. Are you afraid? She asked him. Yes, he admitted. I have been afraid since we found this ship. I have been afraid since I learned what was out there in the dark. Me too. He looked at her. But you are going to fight anyway. We all are. Because what is the alternative? Run away? Hide? Let everyone die while we try to find somewhere safe? She shook her head. There is no safe anymore. There is only the fight. The Prometheus emerged from the jump. They were at the Valorian Gap now, surrounded by swirling clouds of gas and dust. The other 7 Prometheus-class ships appeared beside them, followed by the support fleet. Behind them, the combined forces of the Concord were assembling, thousands of ships from 43 species, united for the first time against a common enemy. And ahead of them, filling the sky like a wall of darkness, was the Absence. They were everywhere. Ships beyond counting. Creatures the size of planets. A swarm that stretched across the void, blocking out the stars. Yuki felt her breath catch in her throat. She had known they were many. She had not understood what that meant until now. All ships report ready, Vigil announced. The enemy is advancing. Contact in 15 minutes. Vance sat in the command chair. Her face was calm. Her hands were steady. All ships, she said. Her voice broadcast to every vessel in the fleet. This is Admiral Vance. Today we fight for the survival of our galaxy. Today we fight for our homes, our families, and our future. The enemy thinks we are weak. The enemy thinks we will break. The enemy is wrong. She leaned forward. Show them what humanity can do. The fleet surged forward. The Prometheus led the charge, its weapons coming online, its crew ready for the battle that would decide the fate of everything. And in the darkness ahead, the Absence watched them come. For the first time in millions of years, they faced an enemy that did not run. For the first time, they faced humanity. And for the first time, they felt something they had almost forgotten: doubt. The Battle of the Valorian Gap began at dawn. Not that there was truly a dawn in space, but the humans had set their clocks to Earth time, and the first weapons fired just as the sun would have been rising over a world most of them had never seen. It seemed fitting. A new day, a new beginning, or perhaps an ending. Yuki watched from the bridge of the Prometheus as the fleet engaged. The dimensional fold torpedoes struck first, tearing holes in reality, erasing chunks of enemy vessels from existence. The absent screamed, their psychic cries echoing through the minds of every being in the system. But they did not stop. They kept coming, wave after wave, an endless tide of hunger and destruction. Icarus reports heavy damage to forward sections. Vigil announced. Hephaestus has lost primary weapons. 14 support vessels destroyed in the first exchange. Tell them to hold the line, Vance ordered. Her voice was calm, but Yuki could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her hands gripped the armrests of the command chair. We cannot let them through. The battle raged for hours. Ships died on both sides. The dimensional fold weapons hurt the absents in ways nothing else could. But there were simply too many of them. For every creature destroyed, 10 more took its place. The fleet was being pushed back, meter by meter, ship by ship. Marcus worked at his console, coordinating damage control teams across the ship. His face was covered in sweat, his hands moving constantly. He had not slept in 2 days, but he refused to leave his post. Hull breach on deck 17, he reported, sealing it now. Power fluctuations in the secondary reactor. I am rerouting to backups. Keep us flying, Yuki told him. Whatever it takes. I always do. Outside, the Ragnarok carved a path through the enemy swarm. It was the largest of the Prometheus-class ships, a monster of metal and fire that could go toe-to-toe with the biggest absence creatures. Admiral Chen commanded it with a cold efficiency, directing his weapons to strike at the heart of the enemy formation. But even the Ragnarok could not fight forever. They are targeting our engines, Chen's voice crackled over the communication system. We are losing mobility. I am going to have to withdraw. Negative, Vance replied. We need you in the front line. Admiral, if I stay here, they will destroy us. And then you will have one less ship. Before Vance could respond, an absence creature the size of a moon slammed into the Ragnarok side. The impact could be seen from every ship in the fleet, a bloom of fire and debris that spread across the void. When the dust cleared, the Ragnarok was still there. Damaged, bleeding atmosphere, but alive. That was close, Chen said. There was something strange in his voice. Not fear. Something else. Admiral, I have an idea, but you are not going to like it. Tell me, the absence has a central intelligence. A controlling mind that coordinates the swarm. It is hiding in the back of their formation, protected by millions of smaller ships. If we can destroy it, the swarm will lose cohesion. They will become mindless, directionless. We can defeat them. We have been trying to reach it, Vance said. Their defenses are too strong. Not for one ship moving at full speed I can punch through. The Ragnarok has enough firepower to destroy the central mind if I can get close enough. Silence on the channel. Everyone understood what he was saying. Admiral Chen, Vance said slowly. That would be a one-way trip. I know. His voice was steady. But it is the only way. We are losing this battle. If we do not do something dramatic, the absence will break through our lines and reach the core worlds. Trillions of people will die. There must be another way. There is not. I have run the calculations. Vigil has confirmed them. The only ship with enough power to destroy the central mind is the Ragnarok. And the only way to deliver that power is by detonating our core at point-blank range. The bridge of the Prometheus was silent. Yuki felt tears forming in her eyes. She had met Admiral Chen only once, a brief conversation in the corridors of the command ship. He had seemed kind, gentle, not the sort of person who would sacrifice himself to save a galaxy. But maybe that was exactly the sort of person who would. Admiral Vance, Chen continued, I need your permission. The Ragnarok's crew has voted. They agree with my plan. They are willing to die for this cause. Vance closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were filled with something Yuki had not seen before. Grief, pride, love, permission granted, she whispered. Go with honor, Admiral Chen. Go with the thanks of every living being in this galaxy. Thank you, Admiral. It has been an honor serving with you. A pause. Tell humanity that we did not forget who we were. Tell them that when the darkness came, we chose to be the light. The Ragnarok began to move. It accelerated toward the enemy formation, its engines burning at maximum power. The Absence tried to stop it. Ships threw themselves in its path. Creatures reached out with their tendrils, trying to grab hold and tear it apart. The Ragnarok did not slow down. It plowed through everything in its path, leaving a trail of destruction behind it. Its weapons fired constantly, clearing the way. Its shields flickered and died. Its hull cracked and broke. But it kept going, driven by something stronger than metal and energy, driven by will. Yuki watched on the screen as the Ragnarok reached the center of the enemy formation. The Central Intelligence was there, a creature so vast it defied understanding. It was made of 1,000,000 absorbed ships, 1,000,000,000 consumed lives. It was the heart of the Absence, the mind that controlled the swarm. The Ragnarok rammed into it at full speed, and then the ship detonated its zero-point core. The explosion was unlike anything Yuki had ever seen. A sphere of absolute darkness expanded from the point of impact, swallowing everything it touched. The Central Intelligence tried to escape, tried to flee, but it was too slow. The dimensional collapse caught it and tore it apart, erasing its existence from reality. The sphere expanded for what seemed like forever. Then it collapsed in on itself and vanished, leaving nothing behind. Nothing except silence. The Absence stopped moving. All across the battlefield, their ships went still. Their creatures floated aimlessly, their eyes dark, their tendrils limp. Without the central mind to guide them, they were nothing but animals. Dangerous animals, but animals nonetheless. The swarm is disorganized, Vigil reported. They are no longer coordinating their attacks. We can defeat them now. Vance stood up from her chair. Her face was wet with tears, but her voice was strong. All ships, engage at will. Destroy the enemy. Avenge the Ragnarok. The fleet surged forward. The battle became a massacre. The Absence, without their guiding intelligence, fell by the thousands. The millions. The Prometheus-class ships led the charge, their weapons tearing through the helpless enemy. It took 3 more days to finish them off. 3 days of constant fighting, of hunting down every last creature, of making sure that not a single trace of the Absence remained. When it was over, the fleet gathered at the center of the battlefield. There were fewer ships now. The Ragnarok was gone. Icarus had been destroyed in the final push. Hephaestus had suffered damage so severe that it would take years to repair. But they had won. The Absence was defeated. The galaxy was saved. Admiral Vance addressed the fleet one final time. "We have won a great victory today," she said. "But it came at a terrible cost. Admiral Chen and the crew of the Ragnarok gave their lives so that we might live. Thousands of others died beside them. We must never forget their sacrifice." She paused, looking out at the stars. For 200 years, humanity was told that we were too dangerous to be free. We were told that our weapons were too powerful, our ambitions too great. We were made to believe that we were a threat to the galaxy. Her voice grew stronger. Today we proved them wrong. We did not use our power to conquer. We used it to protect. We did not fight for domination. We fought for survival, for our allies, for the future of every living being in this galaxy. She raised her hand in salute. This is who humanity is. Not a threat, not a danger, but a shield against the darkness, a light in the void, a hope for those who have none. The fleet saluted back. Thousands of ships, millions of people, human and alien alike, united in victory and grief. The war was over, but the work was just beginning. 1 year later, Yuki stood in a memorial garden on Earth. She had never been to humanity's homeworld before. It was beautiful, more beautiful than she had imagined. Blue skies, green trees, the sound of birds singing in the distance. It was nothing like the cold metal corridors of the Wanderer, nothing like the vast emptiness of space. It felt like home. The memorial garden was built in honor of those who had died in the war. There were names carved into stone walls, thousands of them, each one representing a person who had given their life so that others might live. Admiral Chen's name was near the top, along with the names of everyone who had served on the Ragnarok. Marcus walked up beside her. He was wearing civilian clothes now, his salvage days behind him. He had been offered a position in the new human government. a role helping to rebuild and protect the colonies that had been damaged in the war. He had accepted. "It is strange," he said, "being here. After everything we have been through." "I know what you mean." Yuki looked at the names on the wall. "Sometimes I still cannot believe it is real. Sometimes I wake up and think, I am still on the Wanderer, looking for salvage, barely surviving. Do you miss it? The old life?" She thought about the question. She thought about the years she had spent drifting through space, alone and forgotten. She thought about the message that had changed everything, the coordinates that had led her to a ship that should not exist. "No," she said finally. "I do not miss it. I was surviving. Now I am living." They stood in silence for a while, watching the sun move across the sky. "The Prometheus is being repaired," Marcus said. "Admiral Vance says it will be ready for service again in 6 months. The Concorde is building their own ships now, using the technology we shared with them. In a few years, every species in the galaxy will have the weapons to defend themselves. Do you think the absence will come back? Vigil says there may be more of them, out in the spaces between galaxies, sleeping, waiting for their chance." He shrugged. "But if they do come back, we will be ready. The whole galaxy will be ready." Yuki nodded. She looked up at the sky, at the stars that were just beginning to appear in the fading light. "Do you remember what Admiral Chen said? Before he died, he said to tell humanity that we did not forget who we were. I think about that a lot. About who we are. About who we are supposed to be." She smiled. It was a real smile, the first one she had felt in a long time. "For 200 years, we forgot. We let the Concorde tell us we were dangerous, and we believed them. We gave up our weapons and our ambitions and our dreams." She turned to face him. "But we never really forgot. Deep down, in the places we do not talk about, we remembered. We remembered that we were explorers, builders, fighters. We remembered that when the darkness comes, humans do not run. Humans stand and fight. And now we remember out loud. Now we teach our children the truth. Now we build ships and train soldiers and prepare for whatever the universe throws at us." She looked back at the names on the wall. "We do it for them, for everyone who died so we could have this chance." Above them, the stars shone brightly. Among them, invisible to the naked eye, was the Prometheus. It hung in orbit around Earth, a symbol of humanity's past and future. It was being repaired, upgraded, made ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. In the shipyards around the planet, new vessels were being constructed. Not just warships, but exploration vessels, colony ships, science stations. Humanity was reaching for the stars again, not with fear but with hope. The Concorde had changed as well. The old treaties were being rewritten. The restrictions were being lifted. For the first time in millions of years, the elder races were learning to be brave again. They were learning that hiding from the darkness only made it stronger. They were learning from humanity. Yuki took one last look at the memorial garden. Then she turned and walked away, Marcus beside her. There was work to do, a galaxy to protect, a future to build, and somewhere out there, in the vast emptiness between the stars, the absence was waiting. But humanity was waiting too. The next time the darkness came, it would find them ready. It would find them standing together, human and alien alike, facing the void without fear. It would find that humanity had not forgotten who they were. And it would learn, as so many had learned before, that there were some species in the universe that refused to be prey. Some species that, when pushed to the edge, would push back. Some species that would rather burn than bow. Humanity was one of those species. They always had been, and they always would be. The stars had learned an old truth, forgotten in the ages of peace. Humanity was not dangerous because of what they built. They were dangerous because of what they were willing to become. And that made all the difference.